everyone. I'm sorry to be just a couple minutes late. I was actually racing back from Boston, where I just had a 3-hour lunch with Joshua, who is now leaving town to fly back to Los Angeles. But we were at lunch much longer than I expected, so I had to drive really fast on the way home to get back in time to discuss the big news of the day, which is the story that I broke this morning about our old friends in Burlington, Vermont. You knew it was going to be Burlington, didn't you? It's always effing Burlington. Apparently, if you recall, back in April, me and my Unwoke army, because it was not just me who did this. There were a couple dozen people behind the scenes who did this, but the Unwoke army and I broke the story that the schools in Burlington, Vermont were grooming children live on the internet with video and everything. And this story kind of took off. It went viral. It ended up being covered on Ben Shapiro. It was covered on Laura Ingraham. The progressive media in Vermont had a field day and called me a cult leader, which was pretty great. And I kind of like there's some follow-up that was done about Burlington, but nothing ever really public because quite frankly, life got in the way. I had a million and one other things to do, and there were just things that I didn't get to. But guess what? I've now gotten to them. I've now returned to Burlington. And as I was perusing their website looking for updates, and there are many updates to have on Burlington. This is not even the only thing. This is but the first of many updates. What I discovered is that the Burlington, Vermont School District has doubled down. They are not bending the knee to conservative press and outrage at all. They have doubled down, and it's actually gotten worse. And I always told you guys this was going to happen. I did. Because here's the thing. Burlington, Vermont is basically communist at this point. It wasn't always like this. It's always been very progressive. I mean, Bernie Sanders was the mayor of Burlington, Vermont when I was but a wee child. So it's always been very progressive. But it's definitely gotten worse in the past 15, 20 years or so. And so the residents of Burlington, Vermont overwhelmingly approve of all of this. Yes, Zacho. Yes, that is exactly correct. Hang on, my mouse is not working. This is exactly correct. Same people. Same people. And those people are involved in this as well. Directly involved. No, Naruto, I have not looked at those books yet, but I appreciate the super chat reminding me. I've had some stuff to do, as it turns out. And so the residents of Burlington, Vermont overwhelmingly approve of this stuff. This stuff is not going anywhere. And this is what I said was going to happen when we originally covered the story. There's no fixing this. There's no amount of uproar and outrage that is going to turn Burlington around. Burlington is committed to this track, not only in the school system, but in the entire city. Everything in Burlington, Vermont, and also we haven't even gotten into the surrounding communities yet. Essex, Westford, don't think I've forgotten about you. Essex, Westford is a whole other dystopian nightmare in a school district. We're going to get to them soon. But even if we break down and cover every single aspect of effed up dystopia that's going on in Burlington, Vermont, ain't nothing going to change. And so the best we can do is utilize this as, well, a warning. What I want to do is keep track of what's going on in Burlington, Vermont to see what happens when an American city gets entirely built on equity. What do they do? What strategies do they implement? What are their results? We're going to see some of that today. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, guys. We're going to be talking about the fact that the Burlington, Vermont schools, in official reporting, are showing off their tools to track how many LGBTQ plus paraphernalia and flair are in Elementary school classrooms, because they implemented this in an elementary school. What could possibly go wrong? What could possibly go wrong? So that's what we're going to talk about today, guys. Now, I just want to warn everyone. I'm a little congested. I think I've gotten like a cold or something like that. So it's a little bit difficult for me to talk. I'm going to do my very best. We're going to get through it, but I might be drinking lots of, this is a soda. Probably not something I should be drinking, but it's what's on my table. But I do actually have water as well. I'm probably going to be drinking some more water today, just because I need to be able to talk, but I'm going to do my very best. All right, a couple quick things. Now, this is actually part of the Schools Exposed project. Schools Exposed is a multifaceted project. It started, and you can find out more information at schoolsexposed.com, which is now live, finally, at long last. Not every element of it is live. There's still some stuff I'm fiddling with, but the main website is live. And what you're going to find, Schools Exposed started as a crowdsourced journalism project where I was going to basically teach people how to research the schools, and I'm still going to do that, and then utilize the crowd to basically put together the documents to be able to expose exactly what the schools are doing. That then later morphed into me launching this online training program in which I'm going to personally commit to training 10,000 parents how to find out what the schools are teaching using publicly available information. The same techniques that I'm going to be teaching in this course, which you can get the link to at schoolsexposed.com, is the same information they're the same techniques that I use to find the stuff in the Burlington schools. They're the same techniques. By the way, there's going to be other stuff coming out about the schools this week. This Burlington is not the only dystopian nightmare. There's other stuff too. But I'm using the same techniques that I'm going to teach people when this program launches next month so that everyone can learn how to do this stuff. And if everyone is checking in on their school districts, even in just like their town or maybe their state or their like local surrounding areas, if everyone just did that, we would be able to stop all the nonsense in the schools very, very quickly. So I'm going to teach you guys how to find this information, how to break it down, how to understand it. That's going to be the Schools Exposed program that's going to be launching next month. But also in conjunction with Schools Exposed, I'm also making sure, if we go to this document archive section, I'm going to build the largest archive of race, gender, and equity documents from public schools on the internet. Because if you're going to create an army of people who are all looking for these same documents, you might as well make it public. You might as well just say, just go and look for yourself. Look for yourself at what they're doing, what their policy documents say, what their videos say, and I'm trying to archive it all in one place. And you're going to see I've got a couple schools set up so far. Of course, we've got Burlington. We'll talk about that in a second. I've got the Portland Public Schools. I've got Cambridge Public Schools, and I've got Chicago Public Schools. I also have a bunch of schools that are currently in progress. You're going to see Essex Westford. I got my eye on you, Essex Westford. And then we've got a whole giant backlog of other schools. You can see the list. These are schools that people have submitted to be investigated. There's like 150 schools on this list. So we've got a giant backlog of schools that still need to be investigated. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to be going from school district to school district to school district myself and starting to build out some of this information. And then I'm going to, through the Schools Exposed program, train other people to do the same thing and then compile all that information in one place. And the goal is nothing less than to create the largest archive of this documentation on the internet. And what I'm doing is not just taking them and linking to their sites. I'm downloading all their PDFs. I'm archiving all of their websites so that no matter if the schools take it down, we're still going to have copies of it. So let me show you what I'm creating. And we're going to use Burlington as an example. So for each school that's investigated, I'm creating a landing page. You can find Burlington's at schoolsexposed.com/Burlington, where I very literally am putting all this stuff. Now, you're going to see here. So these right here are the groomer webinars that got Burlington in so much trouble. As soon as the media caught on to these webinars, the school district who had posted these webinars on their YouTube channel, they made them private. But guess what, Burlington? I downloaded copies of all your webinars before I did my story on you. So I still have copies of them. So this is the only place, if you want to see those groomer webinars that where they literally did groom middle schoolers, 12 years old, live on the internet, then you can go to schoolsexposed.com/Burlington and you can find those files there and you can watch them because it's all archived. There ain't nothing they can do about it. I've also got all of their equity documentation. Look at this. I have every single equity report that the Burlington Schools has done since 2012. They also have equity strategic plans. I've got their workshops. I've got their summer student workshop, which is like their summer racial justice academy is like a whole other fucking dystopian nightmare. That's another story. I've got their YPAR stuff. This is where they're basically collaborating with the University of Vermont in order to basically groom students. I've got everything here, everything archived here. I've got their community partners. What organizations is the Burlington School District specifically working with to train their teachers in all of this woke bullshit? All of that's archived there. And I will keep adding to this and I will keep expanding on it. And we're going to create pages, and these are all PDFs. So most of this stuff here is going to be PDFs, right? So if we click on, I don't know, let's just do equity report. I've actually downloaded all this stuff and make sure we have the PDF copy of it so that even if Burlington takes it off their website for some reason, we still have it. There it is. So let's see. What we're going to look at today is actually the LGBTQ plus task force document, which you're going to see here as a PDF. And we're also going to look through another document. And it's taking a while to load. But before we get into it, I actually want to show you how I found this document. So this was actually one of the easiest things that exists. And by the way, guys, for this, if I have to link to a website of some sort, let's see. I think these are all PDFs. Okay, so here we have, here I'm linking to a website. So the Restorative Practices Collaborative. So I'm linking to a website on their school district homepage because that's just the way it goes. They didn't have a PDF for it. But for every website in the Schools Exposed archive that I'm linking to on their main website, I have archived everything. So if you just go to archive.org, this is all archived. It's all saved. So even if they change it, we still have an archive of it. So that's what I've been doing. That's one of the things I've been working on quite a bit. These pages actually take several, so to create one of these pages, it costs dozens of hours of time, at least a dozen hours of time, because you got to go to the school website, you got to research to the school, you got to dig around, you got to find the documents, you got to figure out what's what, and then you actually have to do the building of the page. So each of these pages is actually labor intensive, but I think it's really important to do that because again, I want to archive all of this. I want to be able to create something where anyone off the street can kind of go and see what's going on in these school districts just based on the school district documents and websites. But what I want to do is I want to show you where I found this report about the Burlington School District because it's actually really simple. Do you guys know how when we start a school investigation stream, I tell you to go to the school websites and then I tell you just to search equity? Because the number one thing you want to do is find their equity office. Well, this for the Burlington School District is their diversity and equity homepage. All right. Yeah, James, I'm aware of that, but I don't want to be creating that. I don't want to create that. If they haven't created the PDF, then I'm not going to pretend that they have. I'm not going to create PDFs of websites. The fact is, the fact of the matter is that most of these schools are not going to go back and change anything because they don't have to. The Burlington School District doesn't need to change anything. So it is not worth my time to go and make PDFs of every single website that they don't have a PDF for because they're not going to change it anyway and it's archived anyway, so it doesn't really matter. That's just the way, this is my archive. That's the way I'm doing it. All right, so this is the diversity and equity page on the Burlington School District website. I just want to scroll down here. I want to show you how much hubris these people have. LGBTQ Task Force Report, Spring 2022. Bing! If I click on that, guess what I find? I find their public task force report. And how I found the images of them using a checklist to track how many LGBTQ plus flags are in elementary school classrooms is I read the report, and we're going to go through some of it, but I'm just going a little bit quick right now. I read the report, I scrolled through it. This is why you need to read everything from your school district. I kept reading, I kept reading, I kept reading. All sorts. Oh, maybe we went a little too far. Hang on. Oh, wait. Oh, there it is. Walkthrough. And we're going to go back and look at this report, guys. So we're going a little fast, but then we get to this walkthrough section. I'm like, walkthrough of what? What the fuck? And then I read the purpose of this tool is to assess whether or not classrooms and spaces outside the classroom are LGBTQ plus affirming and supportive with books, posters, pins, and flags. Oh, really? The tool will only look at what is in the environment, not what is taught or the language regarding LGBTQ plus. So they're basically looking at the flair. LGBTQ plus students need to be shown that there is support for their identity and that they are welcomed. Visible signs of support are a powerful tool for prevention. And here is the pilot tool of at Sustainability Academy. Sustainability Academy is an elementary school. It only serves grades pre-K through 5, okay? And then in their task force report, they have another link. Bing! To another Google Doc in which we find their pilot checklist and all of the images that are in the story that I published on the Substack. My point here is this. All of this information is on the Burlington website. It is all there. If you just look for equity, find the equity homepage off of the school district website, one of the very first things that you are going to see is this LGBTQ plus task force report. And in the task force report, if you take the time to read it, you're going to find the walkthrough checklist. This is all like 3-4 clicks from the homepage. It's all out there in the public. All people need to do is look for it. And that's why I think it's so important to have a program like this. Because is surfing school websites rocket science? No. Anyone can be taught how to do this. But the problem is that there's a lot of information on these school websites. It can be overwhelming. People don't know where to look. I've been doing this for almost 2 years. I've been doing stuff like this. I have reverse engineered how these schools put out information. I know exactly where to look on most school websites. So we can get through all the dirt, we can get through all the noise, all the nonsense, and we can focus on where we're going to find the documents that we're looking for. That's why a program like this is necessary. People need to be taught what language they're using, what these words mean, where to look for stuff, how to know when you found something, how to know when you haven't, because what we found in this story was literally clicks off of the homepage. It was clicks off of the homepage, and it has been there for months. And the reason that I am the first person to talk about it is no one else is looking. No one else is taking the time to go in and look at the reports that these schools are posting on their websites. They're telling you everything you need to know right out in the open. You don't even have to do a FOIA request. It's all right there. I really want people to understand this. It's all right there, just waiting for someone to find it. And what if we could create an army of people all around the country who are doing this in their school district? They're keeping an eye on what the school district is posting. They're actually reading the documents. They're reading the policies. Schools would not be able to get away with half of the stuff they get away with if people knew how to find this information. Now, Burlington is a little bit crazier than most. That's true, but I've used the same techniques in school district after school district after school district after school district, and I always find what I'm looking for. Every single time. Because they do it with such Hubris. Right out in the open. So that's what the Schools Exposed Indiegogo campaign is about. If you want to get involved, you can find the link in the description below this video. And that is what the Schools Exposed project is. I'm archiving all of this information in the public. And I'm going to train an army of people to help me do this. And that's how we win, guys. That's how we win. It's not about banning the single book you don't like from the library. That's not what it's about. That's not going to win this. This ideology is ingrained in the policy documents of the school. This is what people don't understand about the books in the libraries. The books in the libraries are a symptom of the problem. They're not the root of the problem. They're not the books in the libraries are a piece of fruit on the tree, but they're not the root that holds the tree in the ground. What I'm talking about is going and finding the root cause of all of this stuff in the school districts. And that is occurring in the policy documents. That's occurring in the teacher development trainings. That's occurring in the equity offices that all of these schools are building. That's occurring in the curriculum. All of that stuff is happening before the books get into the libraries. And so if you manage to get one book removed from the library, guess what? You haven't done anything to change the equity policy. You haven't done anything to bring down the equity office. You haven't done anything to change the teacher training. And you have not done anything to change the curriculum. You just got a single book out of the library. And the librarian, who is totally indoctrinated into all this stuff, is going to replace that book that you got out of the library that you're high-fiving yourselves about. They're going to replace it with 3 more next week. And we know that because it's written into the school policy document. And they're going to try to do a better job of hiding it from you next time. This is what I know, that this policy stuff is boring to a lot of people. It's not boring to me. But I know it's boring to a lot of people. I promise you, I'm trying to make this fun to learn. I'm trying to make it interesting. But this is the thing that matters. Books in libraries doesn't matter. Nothing is going to change by getting a book out of the library. It only changes when you go to the core of the problem, which is the policy. And I can show you where to find the policy. I can show you how they've integrated it throughout curriculum. I can show you the teacher training, but you have to want to look. And you have to want to do a little bit of legwork to go beyond the very surface level. And if you don't, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. Are they required to put this stuff online? They're not required to, but a lot of places do. But they are required to make it public. If we can't find what we're looking for, we just do FOIA requests. And you find it that way. All right, so let's take a look at what we have. So what I want to do first is I want to just show you this this larger LGBTQ plus task force report. So this is something that was done. Ironically, check this out. They were working on this report when we exposed the groomer webinars. This report was almost finished when we exposed the groomer webinars earlier this year, and it was published online back in June. This report has been online for 6 months. And there wasn't a single reporter or journalist in conservative media who all reported on the groomer webinars. There was not a single reporter to go and find this. I want everyone to wrap their head around that for a second. This has been on their website for fucking months. I was distracted by other things, by conservatives canceling me on the internet. How fucked up is this? Can I go on? Point of personal privilege. I broke the story about Burlington, Vermont schools grooming kids on the internet with the help of my Unwoke army. I broke that story and got millions of views on this. There were millions of conservatives who were all up in arms. They're grooming kids on the internet. Millions of views. And I thought, you know what? Maybe an intrepid journalist will actually do their job and follow up, because I'm not a journalist. I perform acts of journalism, but I myself do not consider myself to be a journalist. I just do journalism on occasion when I have to cover for the fact that there are no real journalists doing their fucking jobs. So I broke this story. It was covered all over conservative media, in all of the biggest places, millions of views on it, and then not a single conservative journalist followed up. And weeks, within a month after I broke this story, I was being canceled and smeared by conservatives all over the fucking internet. And so I didn't have the bandwidth to follow up and to continue this, the thing that the conservative journalists refused to fucking do. I didn't have the bandwidth because I was dealing with being smeared, with having my friends doxxed, with being lied about all over the place by the same people who benefited from this work. And not a single one of them bothered to follow up. And while they were so focused on smearing and defaming me on the internet, after I was the only one who found this information in the goddamn first place, after they were so focused on doxing my friends, after they were focused on smearing activists because they wouldn't publicly denounce me, this report was published online and no one noticed, and I didn't have the bandwidth to do it because I was severely depressed from the fact that I was getting harassed every day of my life by conservatives. This is why the left wins and the right loses every single time. Because the right will attack the people who are doing the real work, and then they will do nothing to replace what they've broken. I really want people to understand this. This was available for 6 months. And they thought it was, and your fucking influencers, not all of you, but some of you, thought it was more important to attack and defame and smear me and dox my friends and go after other activists who I'm friends with that wouldn't denounce me. They thought it was more important to do all those things than expose this. And so that's why this is just getting exposed now. Because I was distracted with other things, and I apparently am the only fucking person beyond the people in my Unwoke army that are paying attention to this. That's why we're losing. That's why. And that makes me livid. All of this information is out there. People just need to look at it. They just need to take the time to read it. And no one is. Because it's not sexy. It's not fun. It's boring sometimes. Sometimes you have to read really long documents. And you don't find anything, but you have to read them anyway because you never know what you're going to find. Yeah. The journalists, the Twitterati, they're not going to save you. You have to save yourselves. So now let's look and see what we have. Let's look and see what we have. This was published on June 8th. Someone asked about the guidance counselor and the principal, not the guidance counselor, the choral director. So you'll notice the task force members include Autumn Bangora, who is one of the equity people. We saw her in one of the groomer webinars. Oh, thank you, Murphy's Pool. I don't want to be Twitter CEO. No, 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 no. So Autumn we know from, let me show you where we know Autumn from. Not there. Hang on. Autumn is right here. This is Autumn in the Let's Talk About Whiteness webinar. So she is the task force co-leader. Then we have Nikki Ellis, who is the assistant principal of Edmonds Middle School. Nikki, you're going to find right there. Nikki is the assistant principal that was grooming the 12-year-olds on the internet. Nikki is non-binary, of course. Nothing wrong with that. And then the other person is the music director, Billy Ray Polai, I think that's his name. He was also in the groomer webinars as well, talking about the gender unicorn. So they were all on this task force at that time. Let's see. We at the Burlington School District stand committed to transforming Burlington School District into a national model for holistic wellness for LGBTQ plus people, youth, and adults. We stand in solidarity with LGBTQ plus staff, students, and community members, and believe that school can truly be safe only when every student is assured access to education without fear. We stand behind our staff who pursue a safe and supportive environment for all students. I'm fairly certain that was put in response to us. We also stand by our educators who teach an inclusive curriculum that features LGBT people, history, events, and raises awareness to counter discrimination, stereotypes, bias, and harassment. I'm fairly sure half of this statement is because of the work that we did. So congratulations, Unwoke Army. We did make some impact. Let's see. We're going to go rather quickly through this. Of course, you can read it all if you go to schoolsexposed.com/Burlington. That'll take you right to the archive page, and all of this is available on there. The LGBTQ Task Force Report 2022 is right there. But you can see they've got all their terms and definitions. Is this big enough for you guys to see? Yes. Okay. Hang on. We got all their terms and definitions here. Gender, gender expression, transgendered, cis, gender nonconforming, gender segregated spaces, gender affirming, gender liberated, an environment of acceptance that promotes the agency of individuals to define and express their gender. Free from rigid, constraining gendered expectations of behavior and expression. GSA, the Gender and Sexuality Alliance. We're going to talk about that. Sexuality, intersex, cis sexism. A biased belief system positioning cisgender experiences as normal and expected, and all other forms of expression of gender as other, pathological, or devalued. Heterosexism, homophobia, transphobia, all sorts of stuff. Now, their first recommendation in this task force report is actually somewhat more dangerous than the checklist. The checklist is juicy. Don't get me wrong, because the checklist is fucking weird. But it's not actually the most important thing in this report. So, in this section, I want to make note of this. This is a pop quiz. People in the chat, tell me where this came from. We begin each section with Burlington students' responses to this question. What would make our schools better for LGBTQ plus students and staff? So basically, they surveyed the students and they said, students, teach us what you need, students. Tell us what we can do for you, students. Where does that idea come from? Anyone? Where does the idea of letting students guide their own education come from? Pop quiz. Mount that like button. I know there's a delay in the chat, so we'll do a quick pause. And you can see here the students told them, we want more curriculum around gay people, gender identity, sexuality, LGBTQ plus topics. Teach people that sexuality and gender aren't black and white and that people don't need to conform to binaries or society's perceived notion of gender. Yes, well, Pedagogy of the Oppressed, Paulo Freire. If you have not picked up James Lindsay's new book, The Marxification of Education, that's one of the things he talks about, is Freire. So that's where this comes from. This is a Marxist concept. So basically, the Burlington School District has decided that they are going to do a thorough curriculum audit to make sure there's enough LGBTQ plus visibility and inclusion of people. And they're going to implement mandatory training on gender and sexuality for all of their counselors, their nurses, their health teachers, basically everyone working in the school. Now, I want to say this. I'm not one of those people who's like, we shouldn't be talking about this stuff at all in schools. I don't think that's true. I don't actually think that's even I don't think that that's the best way to do it. I don't really care if kids are trans. I don't care if kids are queer. I don't care if they're gay or lesbian or bi. I don't really care. Um I think that when kids are experimenting and exploring who they are, which is natural for kids, they should be allowed to do it. Where I tend to have a problem is when, well, a couple things. Number 1 is when medicalization happens under the age of 18. I don't think that's appropriate. I think that the human brain does not fully develop until people are in their early and mid 20s. And so if a kid wants to change their clothes, cut their hair, even change their name, I don't care. I think the school should be supportive of things like that. It's experimentation. I think it's fine. I don't think any long-term damage is really done. The problem starts when we talk about medicalization, because then you have kids making permanent medical decisions that they are not in a position to make or consent to, that will impact them for the rest of their lives. And God forbid the kid regrets it in their mid-20s when their brain is fully developed and they're like, "What did I do? I cut off a body part." They can never get that back. And so I have actual, and this is me personally, there are people who disagree. I personally have no problem with kids socially transitioning, but when you're talking about doing stuff that will permanently damage their body, and by the way, chest binders will permanently damage their body, I think it's going too far. I really do. Number 2, I do not believe that our educational institutions should be going out of their way to make it look like kids need to become queer in order to gain social acceptance or popularity. And I think a lot of this stuff is now seen as like you have to do it in order to get positive attention, affirming attention, and in order to fit in with your friends. And I think that that is the problem. If someone is legitimately exploring who they are, fine. If someone who has never questioned their gender before all of a sudden decides they're non-binary because all of their friends are non-binary and they want to fit in with their friends and they want their friends to go, "Oh, honey, stunning and brave," and give that positive reinforcement. That's where I start to have more of a problem with it, because that's not about someone developing authentically who they are. That's not authentic. It's not who they are. They're just doing it to fit in. Like, there used to be a name for it, it's a phase. It's like teenage angst back in the 90s. Like, everyone went through when I was in high school, everyone went through an angsty phase, okay? You get angsty because that's how you're dealing with the horror show that is puberty and your teenage years. You might like I got very emo. I still am kind of. I never grew out of it. But like we go through phases. I had teenage angst, I had goth, I had emo. Kids today are cutting off their body parts. It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. Is someone saying I'm a conservative? I'm not a conservative, bro. Not remotely. I shit on conservatives all the time. God. All right. Yeah, grunge. Exactly. Grunge. You wear fucking plaid and baggy pants and you don't shower that often. That was a teenage phase. All right. Here's another recommendation. Mandate the teaching of proactive lessons focusing on prevention and safety that teach into diverse gender and sexual orientation and identities, address bullying and harassment. No one should be bullied. I have no problem with putting anti-bullying policies in place. That's not what this is about. They've got non-discrimination policies, which we're not going to go into today, which I think there are some valid things there. Oh, by the way, the city of Burlington just got a metric fuck ton of money to dedicated to building a new high school, so that's really great. Um, all gender facilities at schools. Oh, wait, hang on. Library offerings and aesthetics should complement a diverse curriculum and reflect diverse identities. Develop systems to incorporate student voice and input into appropriate representation in the library's aesthetic and content. Books containing positive representation of LGBTQ plus people should be visible and accessible to all students at all times of year. That includes in elementary schools. Books containing LGBTQ plus characters and themes should be incorporated into every section of the library, like nonfiction, sci-fi, history, and sports, etc. And again, I actually don't have as much of a problem with this. I really don't. If people don't want to read books, they don't have to. And by the way, conservatives who are trying to ban books, like you just make the books more appealing. If you get a school to ban a book, you are instantly signaling to students in that school that that is a book that they should read. So I actually don't have a problem with as much of the library stuff, to be perfectly honest. I think that parents should be monitoring what their kids read, and if they don't want their kids reading certain things, then they should take care of that themselves. Let's see. Nonpartisan messaging in support of LGBTQ plus people should not be considered political speech. Teachers and school staff wishing to demonstrate willingness to support students' learnings and self-knowledge. Teachers should not be supporting self-knowledge around gender and sexuality should be made to feel welcome to display pride flags and other symbols for support. Well, the problem is this, Burlington, is that when you're tracking, bro, you're being disruptive in my chat, and if you continue, you're going to get banned. I'm not doing this today. Not doing it. This is your only warning. If you continue to be disruptive, you will get banned. Because you're obviously not interested in the content. And so I recommend you go watch something that you are interested in. Because you're obviously not interested in this. So you don't belong here right now. So the problem is this, Burlington. I don't particularly care if teachers are made to feel welcome to hang up a pride flag. Probably wouldn't be my choice, but not because I dislike gay people, just because I don't think it belongs in a classroom. But like, I don't care if you create an environment where they're made to feel welcome. What you're doing though is incentivizing the hanging up of the materials, and you're basically sending the message to teachers that if you don't hang up the pride stuff, there are going to be consequences. If you're keeping track of which teachers are hanging up which things, and you're publishing that on the internet, what that means is that you are signaling to all teachers that it is a requirement to hang up all things. So this is not just about feeling welcome. This is about effectively mandating it. This is about safety. That's not something I'm going to go through today. Hang on. I'm going to be honest. I don't think you should call them freaks. You gain 0 points by calling them freaks. You only turn people off when you call them freaks. I'm going to really ask that you don't do that, because when you do that, that reflects on me. And I'm not going to argue that these people are freaks. That's not the point I'm making. So please don't do that. All right. Tasks examine how sexual orientation, gender identity, and gender expression are currently addressed in our schools. Oh my gosh. Sorry, I'm just getting so many emails and phone calls today. It's like I need to turn everything off before I go live on the internet. Conduct a targeted curricular assessment of puberty and sex education in grades 4 to 5. Survey students to determine curricular representation, assess classroom practices, and evaluate feelings of safety and belonging. So, again, that's Palafieri. Work with libraries to create a booklet and fund the purchase of specific resources to support gender and sexuality affirming curricula. Present a school district statement that explicitly states that learning about gender and sexuality are critical and accepted pieces of the Burlington School District curriculum. Non-discrimination policies. They've got, oh, this is another thing I need to look into. They've got the elementary school counselors in this report. I don't know exactly what the elementary school counselors are doing yet. I do know that they have sex ed curriculum starting in the first grade, in which they're starting to teach kids about diverse families in the first grade. They're starting to teach kids about identity and protected categories. That's going to be gender identity, like trans stuff in the third grade. I know that, but that's something I need to look into a little bit more. They've got their health sequences in there. They specifically have the gender unicorn in there. Students from the LGBTQ plus YPAR is a whole other fucking problem. At Edmonds Middle School, EMS is Edmonds Middle School, recommended that there is a separation between autonomy and gender and to teach into the gender unicorn. Oh, great. So middle school students in the Burlington School District are strongly recommending, guys, that they teach the gender unicorn. And so they will teach the gender unicorn because the 12-year-old middle schoolers told them to. They've got their health sequences. That's a different thing to look into. But this is why you guys need to read this stuff. They've got all the different schools broken out. Oh my God. Sorry, I'm just so congested right now. I'm trying to work it out. Damn winter colds. They've got health stuff. Okay, let's get to our walkthrough. So this is the tool that they developed that I did the story on this morning, and you can find the story at my Actively Unwoke Substack, and that's carlin.substack.com. And I want to ask everyone to subscribe because I will be publishing a lot more stories like this coming up. So if you like this story, you're going to want to subscribe. It is totally free. There you go. And you can find it here. It's pinned to the top of the page. You can also find, by the way, I did another story yesterday where I basically exposed that the Portland, Oregon schools are proudly proclaiming that they believe in critical race theory. That's another thing. Maybe we'll watch that at the end and I can show it to you guys. But let's get through our walkthrough. And you can see basically the same thing in this article that I did in this walkthrough. There is one thing. Oh, there's one more thing that I wanted to show you guys. Actually, this is in the before we get to the walkthrough, check this out. So the Burlington School District did a survey. They did a survey of a bunch of high school students, and they asked them, do you identify as LGBTQ+? These are select students in their high schools. And what do you know? 35%. 35% of them said, yes, I identify as LGBTQ+. 35 fucking percent. And another 9% said, I don't know. Less than 50% of the students self-identify as straight, essentially. Now, again, I don't care if you're gay, lesbian, bi, trans. I don't give a fuck. It doesn't matter to me at all. But I do find it a little suspicious that 35% of the students that they surveyed identify as LGBTQ+, and another 9% are saying they don't know. Does that seem high to anyone else? Does that seem high? What is the age demo? High school. High school. High school. The survey was filled out by 400 high school students. 44% are saying they're either queer or they don't know. Great. I wonder why they're getting so confused. Well, let's go through our walkthrough tool. So, this is a walkthrough tool that was used at Sustainability Academy. By the way, in this report, they also talk about how they're going to create a GSA. Actually, where did I see this? Okay, so they're going to be piloting an elementary gender sexuality alliance at Sustainability Academy. Sustainability Academy is a magnet school within the Burlington, Vermont school system that only serves pre-kindergarten through 5th grade. It is an elementary school, and they're going to put a gender sexuality alliance in that elementary school. Wrap your head around that. Whole other dystopian nightmare. But they piloted this school at the Sustainability Academy, and they said, what am I looking for in classes, hallways, etc., that would qualify the space as gender and sexuality inclusive? And they're looking at for pins or buttons, pride flags, pronoun pins, stickers, posters of LGBTQ figures, books about them, pride flags, safe space signs, etc., all gender bathrooms, etc., etc. And then they basically walked around the elementary school and they assessed how the different teachers were doing. And I don't know how to we're going to call this woman Miss M. I don't know how to pronounce her name. Miss M does have this sign with a variety of pride flags, but it's only visible if walking through the hallway from the front of the school towards the back. So they're actually providing critique on this. Hang on. Whatever. So they're actually providing critique. They're saying not okay, okay, Miss M, we're gonna find out this teacher's in the 5th grade, by the way. You're providing a sign that has all these different flags, but you know what? The position of your sign just doesn't make it visible enough to all students. So maybe you move the sign. And then they've got a poster board here with civil rights leaders, but there's no LGBTQ on it. Now, again, I don't actually have a problem with this. There's some things I want to be very clear about this. I don't have a problem with everything that they've got photographed in this. I don't care if they're displaying civil rights leaders. I mean, I don't really like the BLM stuff, but you know what? Like this is probably one of the least offensive things. I don't care if they're displaying civil rights leaders. I just think it's funny that they're critiquing them. Here they've got the pride flag, the new trans one. This is at the front of the school. You can see Burlington School District. You can see the sign right above it. They've got a big old pride flag in the window. More pride flags in the library. Only a few classrooms had a safe space sign or a sign that says all are welcome. No safe space signs was visible when entering the nurse's office. They've got all are welcome signs. Again, I don't think this is bad. Miss M, again, you can see Miss M teaches the 5th grade. Another sign, this space is safe, welcoming, and inclusive environment. Students, teachers, and staff, families, and visitors of any English language proficiency, language, background, socioeconomic status, race and ethnicity, gender and sexual orientation, religious and spiritual beliefs, age, and something else. Big old pride flag there. Again, that's on Miss Smith's 5th grade door. We've also got Mr. Gallagher's 4th grade door. He has his all are welcome here signs up. Great. Miss LaChance's 3rd grade door. That's got a big old trans flag, all sorts of other stuff. safe space, the library. They've got all sorts of stuff here. Preschool door. This is not visible when the door is open. And then kindergarten classrooms, we all belong. Oh, look, the kid in the wheelchair. Kids in wheelchairs matter too. They're critiquing the bathrooms by saying like some are segregated by sex and some are all gender. Bathrooms, for the most part, had clear, prominent signs, but they should all be the same signs with the same language. One of the bathrooms in the library did not have any indication of what kind of bathroom it was. That's actually might be a legitimate complaint. Bathroom. More bathroom. Oh, they're really excited about the all gender restrooms. Second bathroom in the library that is not visible when entering. We got some lockers here. Miss Deidre's student lockers signs say love is love. Looks like every single student in Miss Deidre's class has a rainbow flag on their locker. Again, we got Black Lives Matter and rainbow in Miss Deidre's class as well. Got another sign in Miss M's class. We got student painted stuff in Miss M's class. Stop racism. Racism hurts. All lives can't matter until Black lives do. That's what that sign says. All lives can't matter until Black lives do. And then this is at the librarian's desk about this, like the women's stuff, women's vote, whatever. And that's it. That's their walkthrough. Now, my point with this is, again, I don't necessarily think that I've seen much worse. Let's just say that. I've seen much worse in schools. I'm not thrilled with some of the things. I'm also not offended by everything. And I think it's important to make that point. I'm not trying to be like moral outrage. What I think is the biggest problem with all of this is that they're tracking it like this in the fucking first place. Because they're basically incentivizing teachers to hang as much flair up in their classrooms as possible to virtue signal to kids in elementary school. This is not necessary. They're giving out points for the most LGBTQ plus flair. Why does it need to be all over the classroom? Why does sexuality need to be at the forefront of everything? Why does gender need to be at the forefront of everything? Aren't they in school to learn? Aren't they supposed to be learning how to read and write and do math? Why does this take precedence over everything else? Why is this the most important thing about a person? These are my problems. Why aren't they doing this with, I don't know, just say famous authors? And if you want to put an LGBTQ authors in there, I don't really care. But why are you only valuing people for their sexuality? Like, if you want to include LGBTQ plus books in the library or books written by LGBTQ people in the library, if you want to include that, then fine. I don't really care. But why is their sexuality the most important thing about them? If you want to include books written by trans people in the library, I don't care. Why is the fact that they're trans the most important thing about them? That's what I have a problem with, is that they're keeping track of it based on superficial identities. And how much aren't they teaching that they could be that's actually much more important? So it just shows you the direction of the school. So I'm really interested to see where Burlington goes from here. Again, so this is the thing that I'm really concerned about, and this is one of the areas I want to look into next. Assess success and challenges in creating a sexuality and gender affirming, gender liberated environment. Create a set of explicit recommendations around best practices for gender segregated spaces to ensure that everyone has safe and easy access to facilities that are consistent with their identity. That's about trans kids in locker rooms. With the assistance of the Burlington School District LGBTQ plus advocacy coordinator, what they just told us here is that they have a specific position in the school at the district level. This is a staff position, guys. They have an LGBTQ plus advocacy coordinator on their equity team at the district level. Taxpayer funded. Develop and pilot a walkthrough observational tool that assesses the extent to which all this stuff, we just looked at the walkthrough observational tool. Here's the next thing that I'm interested in. Invite statewide Gender Sexuality Alliance faculty advisors and students to comment on drafted recommendations and pilot elementary Gender Sexuality Alliance at Sustainability Academy, which again is pre-K through 5th grade. So a lot more to look into with the Burlington School District. And again, guys, I want to remind you that all of this information is literally available on their website, but a couple clicks from the homepage. And if there was a single conservative journalist who actually did fucking journalism, we would have found out about this months ago. It just required one person to follow up on the work I started for them. Just one to actually look at this website and find it, and no one bothered to do it. So it waited until I fucking got around to it. But guys, that's what we have for today. As you can hear, my throat is like not doing so great, so I don't want to keep on the stream too long, just because like I got a cold. Okay, I got a cold. It's hard for me to talk. My throat's all messed up. But what I do want to let you guys know is I am going to be continuing this work. I'm going to be continuing the work at schoolsexposed.com, building out the largest archive of these types of documents on the internet. I'm going to be continuing this work with the Schools Exposed program, which you can get involved with by following the link to the Indiegogo campaign. You can fund the program. You can join the program through the link. This will be a thing that people have to pay a one-time fee to join, because the reality is that I want this to be my full-time job. I want this type of advocacy work, activism, as it were, to be my full-time job. And in order to do that, I need to create a model of activism that is entrepreneurial. And so the Schools Exposed program is going to charge a one-time fee of $99 to welcome new people into the program, to be able to learn everything I have to teach you about how to find out this information so that you can keep up with it and keep an eye on your school district, and also contribute to the overall mission, and also be able to create something sustainable for me in the long term as well. That's really important. There are all sorts of different types of perks you can get access to by joining the program. You can head over there to find out more information. But I also want to say this. So let me see. Bing. So I want to make sure that I'm a good steward of the support that you guys are giving me, because I very literally would not be able to do this stuff without your guys' support. And what I wanted to do is give you a brief overview of what I plan to be working on in 2023. And I actually posted this to my activelyunwoke.com Twitter, because I want to be transparent about it. I want to tell you, if you end up supporting me financially, either by becoming a member of my Patreon, my locals, by donating to Schools Exposed, etc., etc., I want you to know what you're supporting. So here are my plans for 2023, and you guys can let me know your feedback, and let me know if let me know any feedback that you have. So number one, I want to train at least 1,000 people, but hopefully more, to find what schools are teaching with public information. That's the Schools Exposed program. I do have the ultimate goal of training 10,000 parents to get through this program, but I want to start with a relatively conservative amount. What I think is going to happen is that at some point, the program is going to snowball, and I'm just going to be able to enroll more and more and more people. I don't know when that's going to happen, though. So I'm starting off with a conservative goal for the sake of 2023, and I just want to get 1,000 people through this program. I think that's really, really attainable, and I'm excited to see if I can even surpass that goal by a really large level. Number two, I want to build the largest archive of public school diversity, equity, and gender policy on the internet. That's going to be the school's exposed document archive that I'm already working on, already have underway. And I've already got a couple schools up there. I've already got more that I'm working on, and I have schools on deck as well. Number three, I want to use all this information to build a guide or directory to every single company that are offering like woke training to schools and tell you what schools they're in. So you'll see in the schools exposed to archive, let's go into Burlington again. I have a section that is called community partners. And so these are all of the outside organizations that the Burlington School District are using. And essentially what I want to do is I want to create like a massive mind map where we're tracking all of these woke organizations that are helping out these school districts. And I want to be able to go glisten. Glisten, by the way, is fucking crazy. If glisten is in your school district, you got to run or you got to start raising hell. But I want to say glisten is in this school districts, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one. Up for learning in these different school districts in Vermont. Human Rights Commission in this school in Portland, this school in Seattle. I want to be able to create a massive directory to say, here are the woke organizations and here is what school districts they are in. I think that's going to be really helpful. Number four, I wanted to launch on-demand Unwoke workplace training to get people solid information about succeeding at work with no social justice nonsense attached to it. I want to be able to record at least 50 episodes of my podcast. I want to be able to host at least 15 events for parents and activists at activelyunwoke.com. And I want to be able to do at least weekly updates on my Substack that you guys can find, bing, at carlin.substack.com. And that's what I have planned, guys. And so if you want to support the work I'm doing, you can head over to activelyunwoke.com/support. You can join my Patreon anywhere from $5 a month all the way up to $250 a month. You can join my locals, $5 a month, $50 a year. You can also become a paying supporter on my Substack, which does really help out. Again, $5 a month, $50 a year. Everything on my Substack is free. But if you do want to support what I'm doing, I really, really appreciate it. And I promise to be a good steward of your dollar. I'm going to be putting more structure to this plan moving forward, so you guys really know what to expect from me, and I really appreciate it. Our little troublemaker. Why doesn't this include private schools? Because they're not funded by taxpayer dollars. I can only do so many things at once. If you want to focus on private schools, go focus on private schools. I am focused on taxpayer funded institutions. All right, guys, we will have a community call at 7 p.m. That's for my locals people and my Patreon people. So if you want to join and get involved, join my locals, join my Patreon. Again, activelyunwoke.com/support. And you can come and have a private call with me at 7. I don't know how much I'm going to be talking. I'm going to go drink some tea. So hopefully my voice will hold up, but I will see you guys at 7. Please mount that like button for me on the way out the door, and I will be back tomorrow. Take care, guys. Have a great rest of your day.